Welcome to Get the Balance Right, a podcast for creative entrepreneurs who challenge the status quo. I'm your host, Heather Zeitzwolf, and I'm on a mission to help and inspire visionaries to grow their firms with a keen focus on their triple bottom line. Join me for conversations with purpose-driven leaders, business disruptors, CEOs, and renegades in digital media, marketing, advertising, and design. Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of Get the Balance Right podcast. I am your host, Heather Zeitzwolf. Guess what? This is episode number 26. Yes! And we are joined by Ben Aston. Our topic today is turning a bootstrapped side hustle into a business that generates over $3 million annually through recurring revenue. What? Yeah, I want to do that. Guess what? Ben Aston did do that. Ben is a real go-getter, but he accredits some of his success to luck. In this podcast, we talk about that and much more. His digital adventures started with a website, which seems to be people's gateway into this industry. Rather than being a designer, though, Ben's agency experience was more on the account and project manager side. When he moved from England to Canada, yes, he's got an accent, he figured, well, I'm going to be bored. I don't know anybody here. I'm the new guy in town. So he started a side hustle. He started two companies, Black and White Zebra, which is a media publishing company, and the Digital Project Manager, which is a membership-driven site. After years of toiling away, he has turned both of these side businesses into a multi-million-dollar mini empire that serves an international community. But if that wasn't enough, he's also the host of the podcast, The Indie Media Club. We talk all about his successful journey, but we also discuss some of his epic fails along the way. If you've ever considered designing an online course, well, get ready to learn from Ben's mistakes and his wins. All right, I want to give a shout out to my listeners. I so appreciate all of you, like the person in France. Bonjour. I probably said that wrong. Bonjour. Anyways, I'm trying, really. I'm not making fun of your language. I'm really trying. I'm just really bad at other people's languages. Bonjour. I'd love to hear from you. And if you're a fan of the show, whether you're in France or somewhere else, I'd love to hear from you. You can find me on LinkedIn or just tag or DM me on Instagram. My Instagram handle is my last name, @Zeitzwolf. So it's the @ symbol. Don't I sound like an old person? Yes, I am an old person. Okay. Everybody probably knows you use the @ symbol. All right. Zeitzwolf. Zeitzwolfe. My husband and I, we did a mashup of our names. I was Zeitz and he was Wolf. So it's Zeitzwolf. Okay, ready? Zeitzwolfe. And if you're driving, it's in the show notes. All right. Here is my interview with the charming Ben Aston. Ben Aston, welcome to my podcast. I'm so excited to have you here today.
Thank you, Heather. Great to be here.
You have a lot of stuff that you are involved with, but let's just start with what makes you tick.
Man, I love creating things. I love starting things. I love seeing things, ideas come to life. And I think that's probably where I got started with my kind of entrepreneurship in the digital world. It was creating things, and it all started actually with creating websites and seeing how you can connect people from disparate places all around the world, seeing ideas come to life and making things happen. That's what gets me excited.
That's funny. My journey in digital also started with a website, and I'm almost embarrassed of what that website looked like.
I think my first website was probably was it a Tumblr or GeoCities or something like that? But it was terrible, but it was exciting because it was new and it was connecting people in ways that wasn't possible before.
Yeah, it's amazing. The technology, and even just the past few years, it just blows my mind every day. Before we get into today's topic, you are involved with a couple of businesses that you've started. So let's just start with your indie media publishing company, Black and White Zebra. You're located in Vancouver, BC. I love your website with a zebra, and on the website, it has this cute, quirky looking zebra, and it says, "Making serious fun." Can you explain exactly what that statement means and also what your services are?
Black and White Zebra is the umbrella company for all our media endeavors. We have a bunch of different websites that we run, and they're in typically boring niches. to be honest. Let's be honest about it. Project management isn't very sexy. Typically, it's not very fun either. And I think my journey in becoming a digital project manager wasn't entirely easy or initially successful. And I think that's because I didn't have a lot of the resources that I wished I'd have had. And I think there's lots of great content out there for the design world, even for developers as well, because technology and design, those are the kind of core sexy topics that lots of people are writing about and creating interesting content for. And so my idea really and passion is to make things that are boring, that people, topics or disciplines that people think, hey, how interesting can that get? I think it's an interesting challenge. How can we make that fun? How can we make boring things, typically things that people overlook? How can we make them relevant? Because there's millions of people out there working in these industries. It's that challenge of how can we make this fun and interesting? And how can we, in doing that, really elevate the level of skill in the industry? How can we connect people? How can we make people more successful? Because that is success for us. It's seeing other people succeed, advance in their career, get more skilled, get connected. That's what's success.
Wow. Exactly what type of services do you provide through the company?
I guess we're an agency with no clients other than ourselves, which is fun to have. So yeah, we're not serving anyone but ourselves. So we have a team of people. We look very much like an agency in terms of the team that we've got, but we're investing all our efforts in creating these platforms, these websites for different disciplines. So we have one for HR, we have one for e-commerce, one for QA, one for customer experience. So we're actually creating these topical websites, these communities in all the disciplines that a traditional agency would have. And yeah, they are our clients. The websites, the platforms, the communities that we're creating, they're effectively our clients, but we're able to just work on our own projects right now.
Oh, okay. Just to define that a little bit more clearly. So is it like Squarespace where you have templates, or is it not like that at all?
It's like that. We're actually using WordPress, and one of the projects we're actually going through at the moment is re-platforming the entire thing. So we're creating a platform and a website that will serve all of our communities that we're building. And that will be a WordPress multi-site. Right now, it's disparate sites on disparate theme, using disparate themes, but we're trying to consolidate all that together so that we have more of a consolidated platform across all the sites.
Wow, you've got your hands full, because you also have another company, the Digital Project Manager. In one of my past careers, I was a project manager, so I'm super excited to hear about this. What is this business? Tell me about it.
This is really where it all started for me, and it was back in 2012, just as I was actually moving from the UK to Canada, and I thought, hey, I'm moving countries, I'm going to have no friends. So why don't I start a project that I can busy myself with when I have no friends? So it was the Digital Project Manager. And the idea was, when I started, to write an ebook. I thought I'll write 100 tips for digital project management. I turned that into an ebook, and I thought, oh, then who would buy it? Because no one would know about it. So I thought I'll start a blog and document this process of, well, actually drip feed the blog and turn it into an ebook. I've never actually finished that ebook, but the website that I started, the Digital Project Manager, has now become a platform that includes a membership, that includes online training, and there's a community now that we've built around it. And really, it's to help people who are digital project managers become better at what they do. It's about connecting them, increasing their level of skill, increasing their level of confidence. So it's a whole bunch of resources for people who are trying to learn to be digital project managers and trying to become better digital project managers.
Wow. And then on top of all this, you also have a podcast, the Indie Media Club.
Yeah.
What exactly is that? Tell us about your podcast.
So the Indie Media Club is from a meta-narrative on what's going on in Black and White Zebra. So we're in the process of building communities, creating content. I thought it might be interesting to talk about that, to talk about the world of content and community, which I think is super important. I think there's lots of thin, fluffy content out there. People are just churning out content that's not very good. I think what we're interested in is creating communities with people, building content that is evergreen, that is really high quality, to cut through the noise of some of the fluff out there. I was interested in talking to people who I think are doing interesting things in this space, who are doing things really well. The Indie Media Club is all about bringing together people who are passionate about content and community and trying to elevate the quality of what we're producing.
creative entrepreneur who is bootstrapping their business? This is Heather Zaitzwolf from Zaitzwolf Accounting and Get the Balance Right podcast. I'm here to help you get clarity around your numbers. If you're dazed and confused when it comes to taxes and bookkeeping and you can't figure out where all your money is going, get ready to take your bootstrap business to the next level. I'm offering different bootstrap packages that can help you do just that. To learn more, go to getthebalancerightpodcast.com/bootstrap to set up your free discovery meeting with me. That's getthebalancerightpodcast.com/bootstrap and set up a free discovery meeting with me and start getting radical with your numbers. Was going into podcasting, was that challenging for you, or was that something that you took up naturally?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think I'm very good at it, really, particularly. I enjoy doing it. For me, it's more about having a conversation with someone and I press the record button. And if people happen to listen to it and like it, then that's a good thing. But I try not to take it too seriously. I've been talking a lot and I think it's something I'm quite happy to do. But yeah, it's definitely one of my goals for next year, improve the quality.
It can be hard, especially sound quality. Cool. Let's dive into the topic. Today's topic is bootstrapping a side hustle to 3 million plus annual recurring revenue. Okay. What? You got to tell me about this. I'm going to assume that this is based on your own experience.
Yeah.
And what was your side hustle, the digital project manager?
Yeah.
Was it? Okay.
It was the digital project manager, which I started it in 2012. It started out as a blog and has now Black and White Zebra as a company. We're now looking at, we're growing super fast. We will be hitting 3 million this year.
Wow. Okay. Why did you start this side hustle to begin with? Can you go deeper into that?
Like I said, it was a challenge to keep myself occupied when I had no friends. Then over time, I realized a few years in, so probably around 2015, I'd been now blogging for a few years, quite inconsistently, but people started contacting me and saying, hey, can I be featured on your website? So by that time, a few years in, I was getting some traffic, I was getting some traction, and people started contacting me saying, hey, can I pay to be on your website? And I thought, that's cool. The first year, I think, I'm sure I made it less than $1,000 the first year back in 2015. I'd have to look at the numbers, but I did not make very much money. It slowly grew from there so that in 2018, I decided to leave my full-time job. I was working in an agency. At that time, I was head of product development, but my background is in digital project management, account management, and new business. I've been applying all those skills in the evenings, on the weekends to grow this business, this blog into something much bigger.
That was going to be my next question was, what was your background? Were you working for an agency in England or in Canada?
Yeah, both. So I guess my career started, I was going to be doing computer science at university. And then I spent a year working in industry as a developer and realized that I really didn't want to be a developer. But I kept that passion for building websites and building community. I actually did politics and international relations, went into advertising and marketing. I spent my entire career at digital agencies, mainly in account and project management. And that's, I think, a brilliant grounding for creating entrepreneurship and being strategic and working out how to deliver things.
Let's just back up for a second. So when you started this side hustle, you said you made about $1,000 in the first year. When you started getting some momentum, what were some of the challenges that you came across?
I think pricing, was the first challenge. I think for many years, I didn't really realize the value of what I was delivering to people. Trying to set pricing for people when you've never worked in an agency before and you have to sell time and you have to sell deliverables, but didn't know the value of the leads that I was generating for these SaaS companies. And actually the lifetime value of a customer within the SaaS world is massive. So their cost of acquisition that they can afford is huge because of the lifetime value is so high. I think for the first few years of generating revenue, I was really underselling myself. Revenue that we're creating is in advertising partnerships with SaaS companies. And the way that it works is we have a project management community. They have tools that they want to sell to that project management, those project managers. I'm the middleman. I'm bringing these two audiences together, these two people together. We were seriously underselling. And I think part of the reason we were underselling was I didn't really have time to think about it. I didn't really invest the time in working out how much it really was worth. I was just excited that I was making any money at all. And I remember, I think a couple of years in, when I made $20,000, I was like, this is amazing. This is a great addition to my income. I'm making $20,000 and I'm just running a blog. Little did I know, I don't think I ever really thought, hey, one day this could be generating millions of dollars. That's still quite astounding. I think it's not knowing the value of what I was creating. And it wasn't until I started really digging into, there's a tool called Ahrefs, which gives you CPC, cost per clicks, for different keywords and terms, and looking at the Google Ad Planner and looking how much people were paying on the open market for the kind of things that I was delivering, that I began to realize, wow, actually, I'm seriously undervaluing what I'm selling. And once I became more confident in that, I was then able to adjust my pricing, much to the disdain of the people who I was selling it to. But hey, there's still a valid value exchange going on. So they've kept paying because we're delivering lots of value.
Pricing, it seems like that's a challenge for all entrepreneurs, because in the beginning, they tend to undervalue themselves until they feel confident in their skills or just their ability to bring in more business. But what about epic fails? Did you have any of those?
Yeah, I'm going to say it's an epic fail. We monetize through our membership, through our online training, and through advertising. And I was really keen to launch an online course. I still had a full-time job at the time. And it was the beginning of 2017 that I was like, okay, we're going to create an online course. I'll start with selling it. So I created all the marketing for it, got all these people to sign up for it. And this is actually what lots of course creators do. You work out whether or not you can sell it first. So I spent a lot of time selling the course, and then gave myself, I think, about a month to actually create the content. This is while having a full-time job. My wife was also pregnant, so we had a baby. And I realized, I think 2 weeks ahead of the course starting, that there was no way that I was going to be able to complete this. I had to contact everyone who'd signed up and say, I'm really sorry, it's not ready yet. I lost obviously all the revenue. I lost some trust with some of the people who'd signed up, who'd been really looking forward to this. I think that was a bit of a fail in terms of underestimating the amount of effort it is to create a really good online course. In fact, it took me a whole year then after that to create the course. Yeah, being overly optimistic of what you can achieve when you've got a new child and how long it takes to create a course was definitely a big fail. And I think another, just as I reflect on the failures, and there are many of them, I think not leaving my full-time job sooner is a failure. I didn't leave my full-time job till 2018. And by that time, I was making double what I was earning in my day job through Black and White Zebra, my company. And I don't really know why I didn't leave before, other than having a lack of confidence in my own ability to run and sustain a company. It was a nice cushion to know, hey, I just go into work every day and I get paid and I've got this amazing cushion behind me. But I just didn't tear off that Band-Aid and start more seriously on the company. I think I could have left probably a couple of years earlier, and I think we'd be in a much better position and we'd have grown a lot faster. Those are two big fails.
Hey there, this is Heather. Besides being a podcast host, I'm also a CPA and profit advisor. I help creative agencies grow in a sustainable manner. Right now, I'm offering a complimentary healthcare check of your business. So if you go down to the show notes, you'll see a link and you can sign up. All right, now back to the show. Anybody out there that's thinking about designing a course, what other recommendations would you give them besides make sure that you have enough time?
Yeah, I think designing a course is super difficult. One of the things that I did that worked quite well was creating the course architecture and working out, okay, where does everything fit in? Then I tried recording some of it, and I'd written the scripts. I created the points for the course. And so we started recording it. And the reason that we started recording it was because it was a year later, but we were launching the course. Still hadn't finished the course though. There was still, the second half of the course was still being written. And so we were filming it and I was writing it at the same time. I was like a week or so ahead of the game. But again, that then caused problems because you're referring to things and you're not quite sure what you're going to say and where things fit in. So I would recommend definitely finish your course before you start filming it, because then you can work out exactly where everything fits in and you don't have these weird things that don't quite relate to one another very well. Make sure it's finished before you start recording it.
That's great advice. Okay, let's go back to this topic, though, about making a $3 million business. I want to know more. So how do you do this? Is this something that everybody can implement or that has the drive like you do?
I don't know. I think luck plays a massive part in all this. I think what we've been able to do is interesting in terms of our monetization model. We're combining different monetization models within one platform, and then we're scaling that platform. We're monetizing through advertising, as I've been talking about. And I think that's a reasonably easy thing to do. You create content. As you create content that's worth reading, that's ranking in Google, you can monetize it. That's quite simple. What becomes more difficult is creating a course and monetizing that course and deciding how much to sell the course for, how that kind of fits in within the kind of architecture of what you're selling. The most recent thing we launched was the membership. And again, working out the price point for that and how that works with the online course. And actually, another thing that we have is e-products as well. So we have downloadable things that you can sell. So I think what's strong about our business model is the way that we're stacking monetization models. So we're not just reliant on one thing, but we're generating revenue from lots of different places, as well as affiliates as well, actually. It's quite strong in that way, and it's allowed us to grow quite quickly and then begin to scale by creating a model that can be repeated in these different niches. It is certainly not easy, though. And I think sometimes people have the misapprehension that just because they'll look at me and think, hey, what skills has he got? If he can do it, then surely I can do it. And I think there's a lot of grit and I think there's a lot of hard work that goes into building a business behind the scenes that many people would just be like, I'm not seeing the results for this. This doesn't seem like it's doing anything. And that was the reality. That is my story. For 3 years, I didn't make any money. Getting to that point where year after year, you're still doing something when you have no results, that's incredibly challenging. And unless obviously you've got some other way of generating revenue, income during that time, it's not something that everyone can do. Having a backstop there, but leaving that backstop early enough is important.
Now, what about affiliate marketing? You mentioned that briefly. How do you incorporate that into your model?
Yeah, so it's like a icing on the cake kind of deal. And for most of our partnerships, I actually try and stay away from affiliate deals because it's not really my fault whether or not someone's product's good enough. If I'm sending someone, the thing with affiliates is that it's great for the person whose product you're selling because they don't have to pay you unless they make a sale. But there's an opportunity cost if you don't send your audience to that provider or that tool or whatever it is. You could be sending it to someone else. Is important. Thinking about that opportunity cost. I try and shy away from affiliate because you can convert a customer. You can send one of your visitors to your website over to someone else's website. But whether or not they convert will depend on how good that website's marketing is. It'll depend on the strength of their product. It is dependent on the quality of the lead that you're providing them. But definitely you carry the burden of their effectiveness, which I think is great for them, not so good for you.
If someone was going to start a course, I mean, there's so many course creators out there now. I don't even know if there's enough people to take all these. But if someone was going to start a course, you've given some great advice. Would you advise them to start on the small scale, like doing maybe an hour-long course or a big several-day course? Or where should somebody start with this?
I would definitely recommend starting small. I made the mistake of being very ambitious. I actually started with a 10-week course, and that is a lot of content. So I think picking a really specific problem and building a course that builds a solution for a really specific pain point that you're very familiar with, that you've overcome yourself. I think that's the most effective course that you can create, where you're solving a particular need for a particular person. So being really clear about who the course is for, what problem that persona or avatar has, and then how you're solving that. I think that is a recipe for a good course. I think what I've done in creating this huge course that's quite ranging, that's quite long, makes it less attractive. People are attracted to quick fixes. They're willing to pay money to have their pain points, to having their problems eradicated. And if your course can present a solution to a problem, I think it makes it much more effective.
Great advice. Hey there, this is Heather. I hope you're enjoying the podcast. And if you are, if you wouldn't mind, please hit the subscribe button now. That way you'll never miss an episode. All right, now back to the podcast. We've been starting a new thing on this show, and it's to talk about our core values. And I think some of these are going to resonate with you. I'm just going to read them off to you and just see what your reaction is. One of our core values is to be passionate about learning information because it's power. Embrace data technology to unlock and drive possibilities. What do you think?
Sounds like a good one. I think the thing about data is that I think it's super valuable. And I think data-driven decision-making is great. I think sometimes that we can miss the qualitative component because we misread the data. So the data is incredibly powerful, but understanding the context of that data, making sure that the question that we were asking wasn't weighted or misleading, can sometimes mean that we get answers to things that aren't as helpful as they perhaps could or should be. Yeah, absolutely. I love metrics. In fact, every week in our agency, we go through our metrics dashboard on a Monday morning and review those metrics, because the metrics can tell a story if we've got the right numbers in there of what's happening, what's functioning, what's not functioning, what's growing, what's shrinking. It enables us to quickly analyze things, but we need that qualitative component as well to make sure that it's all making sense.
What software do you use to look at these metrics?
Oh, right now we're still using Google Sheets. We're manually extracting data, putting it into Google Sheets. However, we tried using Databox, which is a great tool. It just hasn't quite worked out yet in terms of getting the data APIs set up so that everything is automatically fed into this tool. But Databox is great if you're looking for a metrics dashboarding tool.
Cool. What other software out there would you recommend, something that's new that you've maybe just discovered?
Oh man, in our world, one thing that is really useful is a tool we use called ClearScope. And ClearScope, if you're writing lots of content and you're wanting to make sure that it's going to rank in search, ClearScope tells you all the words that are being used in the most popular, in terms of Google's eyes at least, search results. It'll tell you if you're writing a topic about dashboards or metric dashboards, it'll tell you all the words that you need to use, what to put in the headings, how long to make it. It's a great tool for writing content that's effective.
If you had content already, can you copy and paste it into the software and then it will tell you what's wrong with it?
It won't tell you what's wrong with it, but it'll tell you what you're missing. What Google's looking for in search is really comprehensive content that covers a topic really well. And if you've got that content, it's a good starting point for being able to rank. There's other components of it as well, like you need links, it needs to be original, it needs to be a part of a cluster of content around that topic, but the on-page content is super important.
Wow, I got to check that out. Now you gave me 2 pieces of software I got to check out. Cool. Another one of our values is to be disruptive and rebellious. Go against the status quo. Normal is boring and lacks imagination. Does that speak to you at all?
Yeah, I think it's fun being disruptive. And I think I may be guilty of disrupting myself too much and not letting things go long enough to see whether or not they work. And I think, normal is for sure boring. I'm always trying to start new things and do things differently. But I think there's also a lot of, and going back to that previous value of thinking about, okay, how do we use data effectively? allowing things to normalize to the point where you can collect effective data, I think is also useful. There's continuous disruption that you need to do, but if you're continually disrupting, you can't tell sometimes the effectiveness of what you're doing. Those two need to be held in balance.
Do you get caught in the whole shiny object syndrome as being an entrepreneur?
Oh, yeah, all the time. I think my team, I'm coming up with new ideas all the time because that's what I love doing. I count on my team to tell me, hey, yes, good idea, Ben, but can that wait, please? Just a week, maybe.
And how does your team work? Are you set up virtually?
We are now. We do have an office in Vancouver, which one or two of us go to sometimes. We're in the middle of COVID right now still. We were a co-located team that's now gone remote.
How does that transition go from starting this business where it's a side hustle and now you have staff that you have to manage? How was that transition for you?
Yeah, it's great in as much as I don't do lots of the things that I used to have to do. I think in terms of what I'm trying to build a lifestyle business. I'm not looking for a big exit. I'm just trying to create something that's sustainable. Managing people, managing teams is what I've done throughout my career as a project manager. So that part of it is fine. I guess it's the people side of it that or the HR component of it that I have less patience for. Like that, the admin, things like running payroll, sorting out benefits. That's not why I started a company. And in the absence of someone to run that kind of stuff, annual reviews, those kinds of things. I just love the work. I don't love the organization. So that part of it is certainly less exciting for me.
I think a lot of entrepreneurs will say the same thing. This has been really fun. Where are you at most of the time on the internet?
You can find out what's going on at benaston.com. That's my personal website. Follow me on LinkedIn as well. There aren't that many Ben Astons out there. Find me on LinkedIn as well. And of course, you can check out blackandwhitezebra.com as well as the indiemedia.club that we were talking about earlier.
Thank you so much for being on my podcast, Ben. This has really been fun.
Thanks for having me. It's been great. Cheers, Heather.
Hey, this is Heather. Thanks so much for listening to the podcast. If you found value in the show, I'd really appreciate it if you gave me a rating on iTunes or just simply tell a friend about it. And if you're interested in learning more about my profit advising and coaching, please set up a discovery call by using the link in the show notes. All right. Thanks so much and see you next time.